everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a very special guest in the corner. Would you like to unveil your secret identity?
Very special. Wow. And I am in the corner here. I'm cowering and nervous. No, my name's Dave Boat.
And it's very nice to have you on the show. We're very excited to get a chance to talk to you.
Hey, I'm honored. I'm honored to talk to you.
And now, one of the things that we have to ask to sort of build a foundation and find out the motivation behind your life is how you actually got how you
I
actually
usually
got.
pay about $150 an hour to tell somebody this, and she has all the answers for me. Great. I didn't know I was going to get psychoanalyzed as well. This is cool.
Well, how did you initially, get interested in acting? Did you just do it in school, or were you doing it since you were a kid? How did that all happen?
Not really. I came to it pretty late in my at least formally, anyways, in my late 30s. I was always into film and comedy and that sort of thing, but never. I mean, I hung out with the theater geeks in high school, but I never formally went and did it. And but I always goofed with impressions and voice and mimicry, and just, I was the kid who always got sent to the principal's office for acting up. This is a story I'm sure you've heard 100 times, but yeah, I was the class clown, and found a way to make all the things that got me sent to the office and make a living at it. Oddly enough, it was just sort of serendipitous. I was working with a band in the Bay Area, and the bass player, well, we were doing a morning broadcast, like a live performance on a radio station in San Francisco. And this was in the mid-'90s, late '90s. And the DJs, the morning DJs, the typical morning goofy crew, they were really into King of the Hill, which had just started at the time. And I was really keen on the characters on there and did a few impressions for them just for laughs. And they said, "Hey, would you like to go on and do some promos for the station?" I said, "Sure, why not?" So, "We can't pay you." I said, "Yeah, it's all right." And I did that, and it went over well, and they really loved it. And the bass player in the band said, "Hey, my sister-in-law does that. You're really good with that. My sister-in-law does that for a living. You should talk to her." So she came to the next gig. It turns out she taught at a school called Voice Tracks West. I should say Voice Tracks Sausalito in Sausalito, California, just north of San Francisco, just on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. And I took an introductory class, and I just completely lost myself in it. I knew this was something I had an aptitude for and I loved doing, and I just burned through all my savings, taking every class I could. It wasn't cheap, but it was really fun, and in less than a year I had an agent and was booking gigs. Shortly after that, I got in both SAG and AFTRA unions, and was in San Francisco for about a little over 2, maybe 3 years, and then moved to LA about 10 years ago.
Well, one of the interesting things I saw looking through your credits is that you've been in video games for a really long time, and it seems like they've really grown, like in the past 5 years, but you've been in
Oh
them,
yeah,
before that. And so I was
sure.
kind of wondering, you got to see the early starts of that. How did you, find these weird pixelated things moving, and how did you find out that you could voice them?
The well, living and working in the Bay Area, there were so many. I mean, Electronic Arts based, at least their home base, I believe, is in the Bay Area in San Carlos. So they auditioned sometimes exclusively just Bay Area talent. So I had a lot of good looks there, and good opportunities with some interesting games to to have a shot at it. But the early ones, I mean, it's so easy. It's so interesting to see how the sophistication, not just in the technology, but in the writing and in the character interplay, has developed since. Just in the past 5 years, but I'm going back 10 years, 11, 12 years. It's just stunning, and I don't mean just the technology of graphics. I mean, just the quality of the product and how much. Well, I mean, it's a bigger industry now than it is. I'm sure I'm repeating what other people know for fact, but it's a bigger industry than the film industry now. I mean, it's massive, and yeah, just getting bigger. I mean, it's not shrinking by any means. So it will always be around and always growing. People who I know who have started out like producers and directors in the realm of video games have all just been sort of the good ones at least been just run over with work. They work so hard. It's just never ending. I don't want to suggest that everybody can just hop right in and be working overtime. These people are very talented, and it takes time to build up and to get a career going. But yeah, it's a huge industry now, and it was such a kind of a fly-by-night thing. There were so many small companies that have sort of come and gone and dipped their toe in the water and maybe made one thing interesting that just couldn't keep financially solvent or didn't have the financial backing. It sort of coincided also with the dot-com bubble bursting in the late 90s, early 2000s. So the smaller companies, some of them, went under, and that was a shame. But I think the people who really wanted to keep it going found a way to keep it in the industry and have gone on to do great things with bigger companies.
I think the really interesting things is seeing how games have like evolved in terms of voice acting. Because it used to be, hey, that programmer on his desk over there has an okay voice. He can act as the nerd or whatever.
Right, right. Well, yeah, having a quirky voice or being able to do a quirky voice versus having some acting ability. Yeah, that has the talent pool has expanded exponentially for video games. Well, because for one thing, there's so much money thrown into the making of them now. They don't want to take chances. Most of them don't, anyways. I mean, there's still a lot of non-union work out there. I'm a strictly union guy myself. Other people are not, but there is non-union work out there being done, and that's you got to get it start somewhere. Hopefully, people come to the union. I encourage it. It's really great, but the level of talent is really high now. I mean, there are people who make a living almost exclusively doing video games. Some of them, and that's pretty remarkable compared to 10, 15 years ago.
And now these stories are so big, like they're 500 to 1,000 pages, depending on what it is.
Oh yeah,
If not more, and they're
sure.
really like complex. Do you ever kind of look at those and be like, whoa, how did you even come up with this?
Yeah, the depth of well, it's the variables, the different. I don't know. I'm sure there's lingo that goes with this, but I'm not not up on the lexicon of how that works within the game technically. But just the variables on where you can go, the choices you can make. If you follow path A or path B, there can be 4 different variable paths, and you have to have a storyline to go along for each of those. So it's like retracing your steps. Like, okay, we're going back to 1, to use an on-camera term. Everybody back to the originating spot. But now we're going to play it as if you didn't kill the dragon and it's coming after you. So now you have to take a whole other angle on the character. So it makes it fun too, because it keeps it keeps it from getting boring. That's for sure, because you have to get a second, third, fourth, fifth chance to reinterpret the character in a different scenario off of the same, I should say, premise. So it's really dense. I mean, some of those scripts are, for one character, it's an inch, 2 inches thick, and it takes you, weeks. I mean, although we didn't have a script, I worked in The Sims for several years, and that was all improv stuff. But every little utterance, every little and had to be that all the I's had to be dotted and the T's crossed, so that it would make sense in the continuity of the game. So, yeah, I wouldn't have the patience to write that out. That takes a lot. It takes a very, very detailed, oriented mind to come up with that stuff.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned The Sims, because when I play that game, because of the
Mhm.
Simlish they use, I can just
Right.
imagine that it's just fun to speak in like this language that doesn't exist.
It is. It is. I mean, it's a challenge. I tell you, it would take us. My playing partner, at least on Sims 2, there were others for other games, but my recording partner, female counterpart, and we bounce off of each other at sessions. We almost always work together in a pair, going back and forth doing takes. Was Zoe Galvez, and she's very talented, very fun, and but it would take a good oh 15, 20 minutes to really get rolling, to have it really start to flow and make sense. Because you really have to go to a different part of your brain to do that. I mean, it's one thing to be improvising it. You have to have it make sense and not sound like another language. And the people who were directing us would be have very good ears and knew several languages, many of them, and would say, no, you just said a swear word in French, so we can't use that. Really? I wasn't trying to. I don't speak French, and I'm sorry I did. Let's try that again. So we had to be very careful because it's a universal game. There are no translations because of its own language, so it can go out to these various countries. And they have various people, not just the directors and producers, but other people to listen to the takes and say like, no, that's a nasty word in Hebrew, so that won't make it. So it was. I tell you, at the end of the day, these were long days. And it was really fun, but really draining. And sometimes we'd work 3-4 full days in a week. And by that last day, it's like I couldn't quite read correctly. You're just in this other world trying to, and we do sometimes 10, 15 takes on the same bit of animation. We'd work to the animation and just try and have it make sense. It takes a lot of concentration, and you don't realize it till you're done, and then you're exhausted. And I'd go home and I'd try to talk to somebody, and my mind would just hear things scrambled, or I'd try and read the newspaper, and the words would start to flow together. It was very odd. But it sort of developed a very different part of my brain, or it killed part of my brain. I'm not sure. It's because it felt that way sometimes. Where I can't talk to you tonight, man. I got to go into work early tomorrow, and I just came off 8 hours, so I'll write you an email maybe. So it was a challenge, but really fun. I mean, it was a ball to just come up with goofy stuff. What was really fun was when we come up with words that the directors refer to them as good Simlish, and they'd be used in other games or in other slowly but surely a vocabulary of repeated words would happen with the Simlish, and we'd use those, try to use those again and again. Like the word baby is nubu, that came about, and pizza is chum chum, I believe, or anything good to eat. It's just things that would flow out.
I think you're one of the rare Simlish translators out there. Just a little.
Good Lord. There's a few of us. Yeah, it's a unique language, and what's daunting is that particularly teenage girls really love that game. I didn't know that, and I can recall a couple of times teenagers, like friends of my nephew and stuff. It's like, oh, you do the Sims, or do some Sim voice. And I go, I can't just do it off the top of my head that easily. It'll just sound really stupid, and it won't sound like anything, just like I'm mumbling. It takes a while for me to get there. It's like I have almost a mental block to do it now. It's been a while. They recast for Sims 3. They went with an entirely different cast, and there's some very there's my buddy Scott is one of the male voices on Sims 3. He's really great. I haven't seen the game played. I haven't played it myself, but yeah, it's a trip. It's a unique game, and there's really nothing else quite like it, is there?
No, I can't imagine many other games that are quite like Sims and have, had such a following for so long. Like, people spend their entire lives playing in this game and ignoring their actual lives. So.
Oh, and they design their own furniture and sets and things. I've seen this on the web. It's like remarkable dedication to the game. It's yikes. Everybody's
Yeah,
got a
I
hobby.
stopped. I stopped before I got to 3. I was like, okay, I need to take a break. Too much of that.
Oh, well, good for you. You stopped at 3 hours. I met a guy the other day who came off of a weekend long bender where he didn't sleep at all with his buddies. They just played some I think it was Call of Duty or something for hours and hours on end. I mean, just 6, 7 hours in time. Stop for a meal, then go back at it and just drink a bunch of Red Bull and stayed up for 2 days. That's extreme.
I can only do that for games that really, really get me into them. Like there's something like magical about them. And actually,
What
since
game what game for you would do that?
well, it's funny. I was about to bring it up. You're actually in a good series that the listeners know, and that usually when I play these games,
Hmm.
I will just play them straight. But the Kingdom Hearts series is
Oh
games
right.
that I will play insanely over and over again. I remember the very first Kingdom Hearts when it came out. I was
Uh,
in like fifth grade,
oh
which
my
might
goodness, I am an old man.
well, to help you feel better, I'm 21, but the very first one, which I believe your character wasn't in, I'm sure
No,
of it.
no,
Yeah,
no.
I ran home from school and I was like, "Mom, did you get it?" And she's like, "Yeah," and I got you the guidebook, which I still have to this day. And I played that until my eyes were red. I never
It's
played a
great.
game that long before in my life.
Oh, that's great. No, I had no idea that the of the popularity of that game until I started getting just random emails from all over the world, like from India and from Pakistan and from Japan and Australia. Just people who wanted. I mean, some people wanted an interview. They wanted to hear. They wanted to know if the rumors were true about blah blah blah. Is this game getting made? I couldn't of course answer any of those questions, but I was just stunned at just how far the how far reaching that game is.
Yeah, it's actually, I believe Dream Drop Distance just came out about a week or two ago, and all
Uh,
my staff members are just playing it. Like, I don't have a 3DS, so I
wow.
can't play it, but it's just like, hey, can you do this for me? Give me a second. I'm playing this boss in the game. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, in 5 minutes, will you do it? And like, an hour later, no, I'm still playing.
Oh wow. So it just sucks you in. Wow.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
does.
think my character has too much action in this recent iteration of the game. I remember that being maybe a half day of work. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess he's not around much in this game. I haven't seen it yet, but I saw the we've had TV ads for it actually. It's got to be a biggie. I mean, anything with the Disney folks in it, that's going to be a I guess that's going to be a heavy hitter.
Yeah, it seems kind of interesting how the organization 13 members work because some of them we know way too much about and some of them we don't
Uh,
know enough about. So hopefully in the future, for those ones, they get more of a limelight and we get to explore their past a bit more and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's why people took an interest to my character. I don't know. It's like because he's not one of the bigger characters in the game, but he's affected some people. I mean, they're interested in him enough. So it's maybe it's the mystery is a good thing.
That's very true. And as long as they keep asking you to be in the next one, it's all pluses
Hallelujah.
all around. Yeah.
Exactly. Make them all happy. So now you're in Las Vegas, are you?
Yes, Viva Las Vegas.
Oh wow! Now there's big gaming conventions there. Yes, or like they have a lot of game oriented conventions. Or if I'm mistaken, there was at least one during the year. I know that occurs, but maybe there are others.
Well, there's the Consumer Electronics Show, there's Evo, oh, I'm blanking
Right,
on one of them right now. Shoot.
right,
But
right,
yes,
right.
there are ones here. Generally I find out about them too late, which is a shame, but you can
Ah,
always see me at the Consumer Electronics Show and hopefully for next year we'll be going to Evo. So, it's
oh
really
wow.
just planning around them cuz some of them don't necessarily do the press thing, which is really weird.
Huh,
But
that's odd.
but Consumer
Yeah,
Electronics Show always does that. That's in January, and that is way too huge.
yeah. Oh, I guess that's global. As is Comic Con. I hadn't been to that until 3 or 4 years ago, and I've been every year since, and it's been each year I'm more exhausted at the end of it than the previous. It's have you been, or is that something you do regularly, or no?
I don't go to Comic-Con because it scares me, but I
I think
do.
for good reason.
Yeah,
It's,
we go to about 40 conventions a year, and that's
wow,
enough for me. I'm good with what they give me to go to, so I'm
sure.
okay just staying in my
Yeah,
little.
yeah. You paid your dues. It is a crush of humanity. It truly is stunning and exhausting. It is remarkable in its own way, but man, it's not a vacation. It's a whirlwind, and everywhere you turn, there's something really just unique and remarkable either to see or to do or to find out about. So yeah, it's kind of like we're so close to it here in Los Angeles. It's about an hour and a half drive, maybe a little more, down to San Diego. So it's like a magnet. The big thing to do here, at least among some of the voice talent folks, I know Tom Kenny does this, just is to take the train from the valley, and there's a really cool sort of like the plush car you can take, and they have a bar in there, and you know, you get dinner and what have you. And it's a very calm, fun train ride down. You can take a nap if you want, as opposed to driving. So I'm going to try and do that next year. It sounds like a lot of fun.
That does sound fun. Well, now the fans know that they can look out for you at the convention. Get
Oh
their,
yeah,
binoculars and their stalking dogs and all that jazz.
that's right. Sniff me out. I'll be around somewhere. It's yeah. There's I can't say specifically what, but there's some Marvel animation stuff that I'm working on now that's really fun, and they're getting broader and broader with their feet in the pool. It's really fun to see.
Well, just so the fans can prepare for that and make sure they have all their stocking gear set up just in case they want to do it now, we're going to take a very short break, so make sure to keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan, where we play everything you want and nothing you don't.
We'll be right back.
Howdy, everybody out there! You're still tuned in to 91.8 The Fan, or at least I hope you are, because then you wouldn't be able to hear my lovely voice. And you wouldn't be able to hear the lovely voice of my guest, assuming you're still there.
Well, welcome back.
Yes! With his
And
wonderful
here I am.
announcer voice. He wants my job, obviously. I'm kidding.
Well, dealing with people like me all day, I don't think so.
Well, yeah, that's true. I do have to deal with you guys all the time. No, I'm kidding. I love
Hey,
my
it's a job.
Yeah, well, I love my job. I'm
Of course
sitting
you
in
do.
my room right now in my
Ah,
pajamas. I'm
oh,
perfectly content.
could be worse. Could be worse.
Now, we were actually talking a little bit behind the scenes because I know that a key character that you voice and that's really popular now with the Avengers, the movie coming out, is
Oh
Thor.
yes. Or yes. The version of Thor that I do for Superhero Squad, that was a couple of years, um, is certainly a kind of a goofier, more comedic take on the character than I did in the Ultimate Avengers films initially, where it was a little more stentorian, and very serious. He's a very dedicated superhero. But of course, Superhero Squad is a very goofy show aimed at really young kids, and they really gave us free reign to improvise quite a bit. So I really enjoyed doing that. A lot of that stuff is just we're just whipping it off the top of our heads and having a great time, and they kept it, which is great. And yeah, that's a voice that I'll still use out in real life. It's like or answer the phone that way sometimes. Good morning. Yes, it's a favorite with my nephew. It cracks him up at least.
I just imagine a telemarketer hearing that, like, am I on TV? What is this? Is this a prank call? Should I call
Right.
into a radio?
Welcome. What dost thou want at the dinner hour? Why dost thou call at my lunching time?
Well,
Most annoying.
I have to wonder, do you crack up at that voice because you not only do you have to do the thou and all that stuff, but you have to do it with a completely, at least straight sounding face.
Exactly. Oh, I'll tell you, in the sessions, what we would try to do is just crack each other up. And it was, if you could see the video, there's a little bit behind the scenes stuff, but it was just very brief. But Dave, I mean, essentially it was a 4-hour party every Tuesday morning. We'd do it at 9 in the morning, and everybody come in fully caffeinated, sometimes a little tired, but that makes it good too. Your filter is down when you're exhausted. So and we would just crack each other up. I wish we had a camera running the whole time, because one person would say something and then we'd go off on that, and somebody'd shout something from across the room even though their mic wasn't on, and that would crack everybody up, and they'd say, hey, wait, we want to use that, we're going to have you say it again, when they bring the mic up. But quite often there's a room full of people biting their lip or holding their stomach, trying to keep from making any noise when some of the goofy, funnier lines come off in that show. It was just, God, what a great group of people it was, and I was sad to see it go, but that's part and parcel of the business. It's still running, but yeah, there haven't been any new episodes.
Well, obviously, there's been like a resurgence, like a reinterest, if you will, in Thor with the Avengers. Like all
Oh
my
yeah,
friends like rave about that movie all the time. Like still now, they're on their Tumblr and their Twitter and their Facebook, and they're like, "I found this funny picture from the Avengers, which is awesome, and you should still see it." So that must have been kind of interesting, even though you weren't a part of that project, at least from what I know of my stalking research on the internet, to
right.
see, the interest sort of peak up in that character again.
Oh yeah. In fact, they were aware of that for the second season of Superhero Squad. They said, hey, they have the Thor movie coming out, so we're going to bring in some more Thor-centric, if that's a word, scripts, because interest is going to be peaked, as you say, and it did. It became a very popular character. So, like, again, nothing like the character in the film, really, in a lot of ways, other than somewhat of a basic thematic appearance that he has with the similar sort of clothing. But what I often get is, gosh, well, I have friends who are completely unaware about how show business works, and they hear about the Thor movie coming out soon. This was a couple of years ago, and they said, so are you going to be in the Thor movie? You're going to be Thor? No. Dude, I'm 50. I don't think they want. I don't have a six-pack, I'm not a gorgeous 20-something blonde guy, so I'm afraid they're going to have to go with somebody else. I'm flattered that you thought they might have asked me, but no, they're not going with me.
Well, the plus side is that you're still voicing the character today because at least your credits say that you were Thor in Ultimate Spider-Man, and I believe that was this year.
Oh yeah, I think a couple of episodes I was in Ultimate Spider-Man. Yep. That was fun. And a really cool show too. Really, another great group of folks. They always get really interesting folks to work with at Marvel. It's a good casting directors that they use, and really great voice talent. So it's always fun when you get that call.
And now, hopefully, that gets the ball rolling, and there's more Thor appearances, and they,
I
call
hope
you up.
so. There
Yes.
could very well be. People keep the eye peeled. Thor could be making appearances here and there if they're so interested. And I've heard talk about maybe another Superhero Squad game. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see.
Well, now,
I hope so.
For the listeners out there, are there any other projects that have recently come out that you can promote, or anything that you can talk about that you're able to without getting sniped by the people outside your window?
Exactly. While you're there, they're listening as we speak. They listen through my fillings in my teeth.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah, oh boy, yeah, like the classic paranoid. I'm getting the signals from Mars through my fillings. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what. I did a fun voice called Vortex in the most recent Transformers game. That was kind of fun. And actually, it's the second time I played a character named Vortex. On an episode of Danny Phantom a few years back, I was the guest villain named Vortex, and I controlled the weather and that was really great. And I took the form of a tornado, a talking tornado. Go figure.
Well,
But
there's weirder things in life.
it's true. You've met my relatives. Now the name Vortex really, I think they couldn't possibly mean the same Vortex that I did. No, it's a different character. So just makes sense. I can't imagine mixing Transformers and Danny Phantom as it is. So.
Someone's gonna do it now. Someone's gonna write a fan fiction and put it together.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, it just takes one little idea like that, and it's like, oh wait, write that down. It's already being made. Oh yes, someone's already got an outline, and but yeah, gosh, like I said, like there's a lot of non-disclosure agreement stuff. I can't even mention names, but there's some really cool games coming out that I was really lucky to be a part of, and characters here and there within them. So keep an eye out. They're very popular games, and I'm sure your listeners play them. So if you hear something akin to my voice, but louder and yelling things that I would never otherwise yell, then it's probably me.
Well, one of the last things I think I played with you in it, besides Kingdom Hearts, was Ratchet and Clank: A Crack in Time. I had to kick your butt twice. Or 3 times. Yes. He was hilarious.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, they let me goof quite a bit on that. I was just improvised stuff. It was sort of at the end of all the sessions, and I think they tacked that little, you call it an Easter egg? Is that you still use that term?
Yes.
A little thing at the end of the game there. They sort of threw that on at the last moment, and it turned out to be really popular. I've checked it out, and yeah, he's a funny character. It was really fun to do. And that was one where they, again, just let me sort of go off, and I could see the faces in the control room, contorting in laughter. So I was like, all right, we're on the right track here. So it was, it's a fun game in general. And again, just remarkable people with whom to work. It's just a great group of folks who, and voice talent to play with.
I always really love those games because they have sort of a childish, feel to them, but they're not necessarily for children. Just silly things just crack me up about that game. So kicking your butt with a disco ball and a monster from another dimension and a sheep gun was pretty fun. I'm just saying.
Yeah, boy. Well, you're serious. You made it all the way to the end. That's very good.
I beat that game, I think, because I worked at a game store at the time. I beat that game in 4 days, and then I wanted to platinum it. So you have to get to the Insomniac moon, and you're stopping me from that moon. So
that's right. That's right. You shall not pass. I can't even remember how that voice goes, but I remember the tone of his arrogance. It was, that pomposity that I brought to it was very fun. It's kind of a trademark with some of my stuff is like the guys who think they're really hot stuff, but quite clearly they're not all together.
Well, now, for the listeners out there who want to keep track of anything you're doing or anything you have coming down the pipe or anything like that, do you have any websites or do you social media at all, like Facebook or Twitter or anything?
I don't, only because there's so many things I love doing. And it's kind of like with video games. It's like with cookies. It's like real cookies. You have one?
Nom.
No. Yeah, exactly. Just more, please. And so social media, not so much. I do have. I update my website once in a while. I'm actually putting together an animation and video game reel visual that'll be really fun, but that won't be for another few months. But that will be out. That's DaveBoat.com. But that's nothing terribly new or exciting on there right now. But it was expensive, so you should go check it out. The IMDb will keep people informed of what. Of course, that's after the fact, but they're usually pretty up to date, and I'm good about updating it myself if other people aren't putting it up there for me. So when things are released, then I can put my name up on with different credits. So if they're fans in any way, they're welcome to check that out. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's made a record. utterly and completely commercially non-viable, but it was really fun to make. I'd never made a musical recording before. All instrumental stuff with the help of some really great musician friends of mine from New York and San Francisco, and that'll be out on vinyl actually in the next, probably by Christmas. So we're not sure on a title yet, but my name will be involved with it. But it's really fun. It's fun to be putting a vinyl record as well. It'll be available for digital download as well, but I'm excited about putting it on real vinyl.
Well, let us know about that, and we'll let the listeners know about that.
Oh, cool! Yeah, no, it'd be very fun. I would be flattered to get you a copy.
Now, we know that that would be awesome, actually. But I was already going into my next question before, like, processing everything you said. I have done this too much. But I know you said that you were going to Comic-Con, but do you have any other events that you have coming up where the fans can, glomp you in real life and stalk you in a nice way?
Nah, not presently. No, if they trying to think. If they're anywhere around Los Angeles and go to weird movies, I usually hang out at those. It's like me and Tom Kenny tend to hit up the odder side of cinema or unique side of film or music. We wander around with our buddies and find out the quirkier the better. But no official appearances or anything going on in the near future.
Well, I hope that somebody doesn't approach you and scream, ah, and then glomps you and then runs away. That's one of those weird movies, because that's going to be mortifying for us.
Well, I'll tell you, it's Los Angeles. That can happen any day. So,
that's true.
For various reasons. It's people just can be odd that way in their own time. So I never take it personally.
Well, since we're nearing the end of this interview, I was wondering if you'd like to participate in a 91.8 The Fan tradition.
Absolutely, as long as I can keep my clothes on.
That is the popular one. We don't ask you to get naked. But
okay.
That's for the other secret fraternity tradition.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Basically, we ask everyone whether they're a voice actor or not if they'd be willing to do a radio bump for us. But the trick of it is that we do the takes live on air.
Live on air. What do I have to say?
We basically ask if you could say, hello, my name is, you insert your name. I do this. You can say you're a voice actor, or you can say any characters you voiced, whatever you want to put there. And you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
91.8 The Fan. Sure.
Yes. So whenever you're ready, go right ahead.
Hey, folks. It's Dave Boat. You might know me as Thor from the Superhero Squad, or that mumbly guy from The Sims, various other things. I am a voice actor. You probably figured that out. And you are listening to 91.8. Is that right?
That is right.
The Fan. Keep listening.
Perfect. We can cut that together. That won't be that bad.
All right.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there? Any words of wisdom? Any dating advice? Or thank you and have fun?
Dating advice? You've come to the wrong guy. Just be happy. I'm flattered that that anybody would even take the slightest interest in what I do, and it's just so much fun to do this stuff, and so glad to hear that it makes people happy. It makes me happy to know that I'm making other people happy. So just keep doing what you're doing and stay happy.
Well, you've certainly made me happy and the listeners happy because you were a fantabulous guest.
Well, thanks so much. I hope we can do it again sometime.
And for any of the listeners out
I'm sorry?
there, you can catch this interview in case you missed any days, so keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan, where we play everything you want and nothing you don't.
Bye-bye!